Shareware is all about is making sustainability easy. Humans need convenience, they need ease, they have so much going on in their day-to-day life that sustainability is important, but it's not like the most important thing. Like feeding yourself, feeding your family, growing your career, getting a little bit of fun in your life, all those types of things, they take priority. And if the sustainability is easy and it's there, then yes, you'll definitely go and indulge. But if it's not, then it's not always top of mind. So what we're all about is to make it absolutely as easy as possible, so you don't even know that you're doing it. So that's our fundamental foundation. That's where we're trying to build everything off of that. I want my kids to grow up on a planet that was as beautiful as I had it. And we know that, 45%, well, we don't all know that, but actually 45% of climate change is caused by waste, our waste culture, our like throwaway lifestyle, and everything that we do, and like the energy savings with like better light bulbs and cars and all those kinds of things. They're great, but it's only 55% of the problem. All the waste and garbage that we're creating in our day-to-day life is actually the is 45% climate change. So like the more you're producing or the more you're throwing away, the more that you have to produce to replace that. And that's all like the production emissions, the transportation emissions, use after, off gassing afterwards, or whatever's happening after you're done with it. So if we can stop that kind of end part and that beginning part, and just keep value within our society and keep it circulating, then we can really truly fight climate change. And we can do it every day in our day-to-day lives. We basically, like, our whole fundamental idea was just to stop food packaging waste. There's cups and takeout containers and grocery packaging and bags and all these things that are going into landfill or incinerators, or like the worst are like lands and oceans, like all day, every day. And if we just stop doing that, that's like a significant amount of climate action that we can do in our daily lives. And it's in, it's everywhere. It's like, food packaging, like all these things are around us all day, every day, but we don't see it. And as soon as people start seeing it, then they can start doing something about it and realize that these little actions every day happen. And what we say, like my business beforehand was in corporate food service, and we go to a lot of trade shows, and we'd see like the CHFA and all those kind of things, thousands of booths, and people doing samples, and all you're doing is like boom, garbage, boom, garbage, boom, garbage, just eat it. So yeah, when we got to meet with Grow, or we got invited to the show in their sustainability section, which they actually had, which was amazing. We were honored to go, of course, and then we got to go and have this like trade show where we were representing kind of like the change, and kind of being a part of a trade show that actually like saw a problem and wanted to be part of the solution was super cool. So yeah, that's that. I could talk more and more about it, but I don't know, maybe I'll stop rambling for a minute.
Well, it's pretty synergistic with what we do. I've been in the food and beverage industry for 30 years now 30 going into 31. And when I started in the food industry, it was really easy to get things locally. It was much easier than it is now. So we look 30 years later, and what we've seen with, the increase of just garbage, we've also seen an increase of globalization. So everything went from local to global within, I would say, probably about a 12 to 15 year period. So I started out and things were fairly, local-ish, right? Like you could get things in North America, you could get packaging in North America, it was quite easy, ingredients, whatever. And then there was a turn. And in that turning of that tide, everything ended up moving into, moving off of, out of North America. And a lot of things went to China and other countries. And that really has impacted us in a great deal in the food industry. And then, throw COVID into this at a few years ago, and supply chain issues. And there you go. Right. So something really major happens on the planet. And all of a sudden, that global thing that was such a great idea because it was going to, like, bring all these efficiencies, now is just about the worst thing because you can't take care of yourself, right? You're not really able to be autonomous. And in the food industry, that's pretty important. You can do all the local you like, but if you can't, if you don't have the things to pack your products in locally, then you're pretty messed. So I really see this as quite a synergistic thing that we now are working in a space where in the last 12 years, it's to really focus on local and really, make that footprint palatable. And so, we push and push, and that's why we really consider ourselves now multi-market channel experts. And that we're looking to really maximize the sales for local brands in this province, and hope to see that in every province across the country. To be honest, is we really want to see that happen right across the country, that people get more and more focused on maximizing what they can do within their province, because if they can make a go of it, if they can make money here, then they might not have to throw their stuff on a truck and go all the way across the country, or they might not have to make that decision to repack their products and go down to another market entirely and have another set of issues and challenges to deal with. So I see this as a really nice synergistic thing. So it makes a lot of sense for us to actually have brought in this sustainability piece to the show. And to get people sort of thinking about that it's all of these things. It's not just one thing. It's not one thing that's floating on its own here. It's many, many things coming together that we need to think about. And this can be fun too, right? It's not hard to go to a farmer's market and buy really great products that are locally available to you and talk to the person who grew that thing or made that thing, right? That's fun. And I think it's more fun to think about our life that way, right? So you're talking about, not having this heavy-handedness about it, but you want it to be light, right? You want it to be light, you want it to be inclusive, and you want it to be easier. And so, we're on board with that. We agree.
Yeah. So go ahead, Meg.
Yeah. Just in our coaching and in our education, we hear a lot about how important sustainability is to these brands. And there's a lot of them being overwhelmed where to start. Packaging is obviously the biggest piece that we hear over and over again when it comes to how to be more sustainable across all the way, packaging their products when it comes to food service, like you're talking about packaging. So I think it's really a great way to introduce a sustainable element into our show and kind of give them some baby steps to participate in and have it not be overwhelming. And starting with that first year that you were an exhibitor, and then we were just bringing your glassware, your cups into the conference, and folks were able to see that as an option. To this year, really launching a more comprehensive opportunity across all their trade show samplings. So I'm really excited for the evolution, and I think it's really just another way, that's bite-sized, literally, no pun intended, for them to take on sustainability.
And the thing is, it just can be so easy to do if all the infrastructure is in place and everybody's on board with it. And it's just like going to a restaurant, you would bring your own single-use products to a restaurant or whatnot. It's there, it's available, and you eat and you go. Imagine a trade show where you just show up with your products and you just kind of grab your sample stuff, or you buy it beforehand at whatever you want, a specialty one, you want a nice wine glass to sample all your stuff in, and people could just scoop the ice cream out of a nice wine glass or something. You could buy that beforehand and bring that with you, or get it at the thing and then just leave it there and you're done. So it's just like single use. You buy your single use stuff and you bring it in and then you throw it away. Or this is just you bring your stuff in and then you just leave it there, and then it gets picked up just with regular, trash removal or like waste removal or whatnot, those companies break it up, like recycling and compost and garbage, all those things are getting picked up from that facility, and giant trucks could be the same thing for servingware. And then it just goes to a centralized washing facility, gets washed, goes back on the shelves again for the next people to buy or to do the next trade show. Like, it can be just as easy as that, as soon as the infrastructure's there. And that's all part of like that organism that you're speaking, like everything's all interconnected, and how it all works, and localizing everything. It makes, like, the more you lean into it, the more, it gets better and fortified, and, more businesses start supporting it, and they see like opportunities in it, because they're like, oh, this is all happening here now. It's like, oh, we need more packaging. Oh, there's all these companies doing this like local packaging, and now it's like affordable because the infrastructure is there. It's like, well, I'm going to start like a white labeled packaging thing too, and we'll order in shipping containers of nuts or mixes or fruits or whatnot, and we'll package those into reusable, smaller containers that, can go on a shelf. And then suddenly it's just this local economy that's super robust too, like supply chains, things like you mentioned with like COVID, happening, like cutting all that stuff off. It's like, you don't have to worry about the rest of the world anymore. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool stuff that can come with sustainability. And we're just so excited to work with your trip, because people like at your show could just, we could have our sampling cups available to them at the show, and then they could just come over and grab them, and then go and do all their samples, and then they just go into like a bin that's, at their station that they are like, around, and then, we pick it up and take it to us, just like your trash removal. So it reduces your trash that you have to, deal with, and we take it back to our washing facility and deal with it all. And so I'm really excited about this year, because I guess every year you have such like an all-star cast of attendees. Always been blown away. It's actually my favorite show, that trade show I've ever been in, because the CHFA and like all these other, like, I've been down to Anaheim to like big food shows, and you're just like fighting people, just like samples, and you're like, who are these people? Like, are they even like qualified leads or anything, like helping people out? And they're just like stuffing their bags with things. But there you're like, there's not many people here, and you're like, is this that popular? And then everybody that comes up to you is like, oh, I'm from a major university, or education, or like a municipality, or a health authority, or a major distributor. You're like, like, you're the decision maker at the major distributor that I want to talk to, that would be like, hey, you need to list these people, whatever. And so it's really cool. And then by not having as many people there as well, I'm not saying it's like dead or anything like that, but it's like the key figure people are around, that you have enough time to talk to those people, and then have the next person come, and so you're not missing out on like any opportunities. Like, I think like every year I've been like talked to like the same kind of groups again. I've had just as much time. And if you can't, like, if they come by and they're like, I'm from so and so, whatever, you can go and run and find them again and be like, okay, I'm just, I'm freed up now. Like, what do you need? So it's really a delight. And then the people that show up, and all your vendors too, like when we go around and do some samples, or like the people that you choose are dynamite. Like, they're just all like solid, hardworking business owners that are just just good people in general. So yeah, anyways, congratulations.
Cody, I did trade shows for many, many, many years in both the US and Canada for many different companies. And that was the thing that just drove me the most crazy about doing trade shows. I really didn't like doing them, because it did feel like you were just basically feeding a whole bunch of people, and that there wasn't that many qualified leads. And so actually this was part of why we wanted to have a trade show like this, that we didn't want it filled with, booths that were services or other things. We wanted it filled with just people that were selling products, and that the attendees would be majority buyers, decision makers, and people like that. And you're exactly right. The reason why we don't have it teeming with people is because I have had plenty of times when I've been at a trade show and someone has had me up against the booth trying to sell me something, and I've missed the buyer. I've missed having that conversation. And so when a show has a little bit lower, like boom, 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 boom energy, actually what you find is people stay longer. And they have more meaningful conversations. And so this is the one opportunity, especially now with the market. There's so many new products coming up all the time. It's very difficult to get these folks' attention. And it's the one day where they set it aside and they will give you 100% of their attention. And there's nothing better than that if you're looking to connect with the buyer than getting their full attention and having them right in front of you. So what we wanted to create.
And it's really great to hear you say that you found value as a sustainability exhibitor, because this will be our third year doing this our sustainability section, and it's evolving each year. And we're really trying to be able to understand what those folks need to have value in the show. And so those attendees that you named, it's also connecting with the vendors as well. So that's something we feel really passionate about, making sure that those organizations that are actually helping address those environmental and social challenges in the food industry, because we know there's many, whether it's food rescue and redistribution, or reusable single waste like garbage or plastics like you guys are tackling. We want to be able to kind of give them a platform and a space to connect with those people that can help them. So we're forever open to feedback and trying to evolve that and create that environment for them. But it's really nice to hear that you find it valuable.
Oh, so much. It's such a great day. And by having just the qualified leads too, you have more energy to give to each one of them too. So you're talking to like 1,000 people in one day. You get to talk to 50 probably more than that. I'd say 100 at least that we get to talk to, and you get to talk to them for 5-10 minutes. It's a relaxed conversation. It's not rushed, and you can just kind of be yourself and do your thing instead of just same spiel, and then they're like, oh, I'm just some guy that just got a ticket. And they're like, thanks for the info, love what you do, see you later.
I remember I think it was our first or second conference when we had you out on the table and your signage app. I remember UBC came through and was like, oh, Sharewares, yeah, they reached out to us. Yeah, I think they have a meeting with them and maybe another company doing the same thing, but okay. I was like, yeah, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
A little connection for sure over many, many times.
When they can see it in their face too, because it's those decision makers are so busy and there's so much to do, and there's just so many people banging on their door, and so just to open it for a second to see something new and different that's not in the status quo or whatever, it's really hard to do. So when they're kind of captive around other things, and then they kind of and then there's this new thing, and they're like, oh, right, I've been driving my square wheel car for so long, maybe I should get some round wheels. It's just oh, it's in my face, and I could see it and feel it, and then they're like, this makes total sense. And then you can paint the picture too of what if your campus or your hospital or your building just had collection bins for reusable packaging in the whole thing, and it all gets into one place and gets taken away, and then there's no single use that has to come into your building or your anything at all, and it's just this easy, and it'll be very minimal, if not no upfront cost, and you can just plug and play and just start doing it. They're like, oh, it just kind of makes sense. They're like, all right, what
find out reasons why to say no, why it's difficult, why it doesn't work.
So anyways, whatever magic you're doing and whatever you're paying all these people to do all this magic.
That question is when we're working with the food brands and they're really wanting to implement sustainable business practices. The biggest barrier that I think for a lot of them really is it comes down to cost and where they're at, and just their efficiencies at the scale, the stage that they're at. It's hard for them to implement those because oftentimes they are the more expensive option. But one of the things that we really like to talk about and teach is having also a more holistic understanding and point of view of sustainability when it comes to their business. So maybe they're not necessarily going for the new packaging, but they're looking at how they're distributing their product or where they're sourcing their ingredients. So I don't know if that really answers that question well, the barrier.
I mean, it is cost, right? It really has to do with cost.
Yeah.
It's for them to be competitive, it's very difficult. Oftentimes what will happen is things like, well, I want to be organic because of course that's the better, it's going to be a much better product. But then they can't really do organic because it's just going to make that product so much more expensive at the end of the day to the consumer. And they can't do that. So it is really, I think that is really challenging. I mean, we kind of counseling people on this is local is actually, it's not necessarily better than organic, but it is a positioning that you could take that you're the local option for consumers. That's kind of the best they can do if they're looking to try. I mean, when there was questions around what was available for sustainable packaging and things like that, and someone started something a couple of years ago online. It was through one of the chat forums, and it was unbelievable the number of people that wanted to change, wanted to be part of this movement, really had a desire for it. Like, I think within a 2-day period, there was 40 or 50 people that had reached out and said, I want to talk about this too. I want to hear about this too. And so I think it rolled off and became some kind of a group, but then it kind of died. Like, we didn't hear anything else from it. So I think it's really, really challenging for these folks. And I think with time, like that comment that I made about how everything went to global, and I think it's coming back. Like, I think we're going to move back. We'll have to. I think it's the only way we're going to be able to truly be sustainable is we have to move back to a local kind of situation. That is going to take some time because it's not as simple as, oh, okay, well, now we're going to all buy local. Because again, as I said, the supply chain hasn't made it so that it's easier for folks to do that. A great example of that is glass. People wanting to sell in glass, right? Because of course they feel that's the better thing. It's, the better option. It can be recycled or whatever. It can be reused. Sometimes people take those things back, but it's really, really expensive. And so now guess what people are doing? I can't make those costs work. So now I'm going to do a plastic, right? I'm going to do plastic container or pouch or whatever, because now I can compete with everybody else on the market because just glass is too much. It's costing 5 times what it would cost me to pack it in a plastic container. So my belief is that this is going to come to a head. And I think you're going to start seeing better packaging options come back into North America. I think that's going to happen because right now it's crazy what's happening right now on the packaging side of things. So it's really hard for folks to try and like address this kind of thing with just the supply chain issues that are happening right now.
I would totally agree that the barrier of cost for sustainability is huge, because sustainable options is generally not the least, except at scale. So that's, I guess, to your point of these people changing from these like reusable glass options to single-use plastic, cheap, thin things that, garbage, just because of that cheap factor, being able to bring down the cost of like reusable packaging to so much almost on par with these single-use options, and it can be a better experience as well for a customer. It could be like a more robust, like we have like these, packets for like nuts and things like that you could refill and send out, and even like say doing samples out of a wine cup, like why not? And if this is going to cost you the same amount, then why not? And if you have just massive amounts of this wouldn't be this would be like I got your glass option, but like say like your reusable cups and things like that, instead of some like little dinky 10-cent cup or something like that. If that's at the same cost level, we're only going to achieve that with scale and growing that, and like the infrastructure is coming in place, like Oncorp, or Return It is better, more common used. They collect the cans and bottles. They're the ones that do the deposit refunds. They're putting in collection bins around the city. I think there's 17 now with plans of, I think, like 26, like more, or I guess another 9 coming out on the sides of the street for collecting reusable cups. So like our system runs on that, so you can return any of our like coffee cups, or like Tim Hortons is a customer of ours, so they have a reusable cup program that uses our technology, and we wash it at our facility. So there's these bins on the sides of streets and in plazas in downtown and around downtown now that are the infrastructure that's going into place to be able to do that. So as soon as these bigger companies come on board and start doing these things, it starts signaling to the market that there's opportunity, and then that starts driving up all the scale. and then everything can kind of come down. And as the scale comes up too, people start being aware of it. Like, you don't really see garbage in your day-to-day life because it's gone after you throw it in a garbage, or recycling as people pick it up from your house, from your office, or whatever. It's out of, we live in a nice, beautiful, clean Vancouver, and that's not because people don't litter here. It's because that litter gets picked up and the trash on the side of the street gets picked up. So we never see it. If they stopped picking up all the trash in the city, we would see it, smell it every day, and we'd probably be like, let's stop doing so much of this. But like with like the city and society is enabling this culture. So yeah, as soon as like the awareness of this infrastructure comes in place, people are like, oh wait, there's an option that's just as easy. So instead of putting it into this bin, I just put it into this one. Then then the cost will come down considerably. So we need the trailblazers to take that initiative to come across. And I mean, it's not too much more expensive to do reusable packaging, and it is a statement. So there is like value to jumping into it. So yeah, I see that the cost will come down. So like the future, I guess what does the future look like for this is that, people won't even remember single use. They'll just it's just like going into a restaurant, sitting down and eating, the dishes, they come and they go, and so sustainability will be just as easy as this throwaway lifestyle that we have. Like, reuse will be as easy as single use. So that's what I see, and I think it's actually going to be quicker than we think. The programs that are coming online are quite inexpensive and plug and play into existing infrastructure for like stadiums or universities or theaters and stores, restaurants, all that kind of things. Like, it's just you just buy it just like single use and plug it in. So I see that, yeah, within 5 years, there will be an outrageous turnover. And as soon as you hit that critical point, like the critical mass of people being aware of garbage, which I think will happen in the next couple of years because of all the government policy coming online, it's going to just really accelerate things. And, having, trailblazers like yourselves, promoting it, and having, hopefully like next year's show will be like all zero waste, like there will be nothing. And we will just help you do all that thing. We can look at everything this year, and we like everything here, we can switch over. With the toilet paper or napkins. I don't know, those things would be weird to do. We can cut that one out, but
You know what, though? As you were talking, what I was thinking was, in our own way, we're really contributing to this as well by being multi-market channel focused, because we're really encouraging folks to pursue channels where they can do bulk. So that in itself is like, I mean, think about it this way. It's like you could sell 5 units of your sauce, well, probably even more. You could sell like 18 units of your sauce, or you could sell a bin of something that could be also reusable, right? It could be to food service. And it's getting portioned off in things that don't get thrown away, right? So actually, it is a very synergistic thing. And I think that it's super important for us we can't necessarily change that grocery mindset right away. But I think we've seen that because we've seen stores come and they haven't stayed, right? They haven't been able to have that staying power. So I think it's a bit early on the grocery side, but it's not early on the side of, hey, supporting those brands locally to make sure that they can survive. And at the same time, they're doing good. They're doing good because they're selling in bulk sizing. And, obviously that's better than selling in individual single serve things, right? So, yeah.
Definitely. And like, because, small, we're working with a lot of small businesses too. We're trying to help out on the cost side too. So like the cost being more expensive is like, imagine your product was on a shelf and it was in a reusable packaging that could be brought back and returned for value, and then washed and then returned to you, to be using it, and it being just as inexpensive as single use too. So that's a statement piece where it's like on a shelf next to all this packaging, all this single-use plastic packaging that
Right.
who knows what happens to it. And you're like, boom, you're like first reusable tomato sauce thing that can be on, in a loop. So yeah, I guess I'm excited about your show, so I can talk to your some of your vendors there too, to see where the opportunities are, because we want to learn too. Like, my background's in engineering, I like building things or whatnot, so there's still a long ways to go. Like like there is some things to get over and hurdles, but I think things are going to be great.
I have a question. How far are you geographically, Shareware? Is it Metro Band right now? Is it BC? I never asked that.
Yeah, I guess Sharers right now, like started out in Vancouver. We can do all of Vancouver. We're branching out into like North Vancouver and into Burnaby, and I think we're going to go Coquitlam. We have a full logistics side of our business, so if there's opportunities, we will grow. But we do have a wash network that we just launched, which is national. So some big brands are coming to us and they're like, "Well, can you scale this across Canada in 3 years?" And we're like, "Well, we're only in Vancouver." And so a lot of other brands have said this to us and to other reuse logistics companies in other cities. So we have a pretty good network of other businesses like us around the world and across Canada. And so there's like a group of us. And we're like, hey, should we just start a wash network? So well, like, let's do it. So we launched the National Wash Network in January. So now there's like washing facilities in Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa will be coming online soon. And it's around Toronto. There's like the whole GTA area is covered. So I think Edmonton and hopefully in and around that. Like we lighten up the whole country. So, and like part of this big grant that we had too is to build out a report so that we can, or manual, I guess you can, to like how to build a washing facility. And so we can be working with other people that are like, hey, I want to start something, I'm sustainability, and I want to start something up in my town, and they can get on board with that too. And then that's, I could just see that hitting critical mass and cascading to everywhere, that like, you have your washing facility, like a small town, like a cafe, a restaurant could be the washing facility for the area, because there's downtime. It's not like they're washing all day, every day. So like they have the equipment that they could be processing. And then in big cities, you just have like a block that's just like new utility for that city. You have your compost, your recycling, your garbage, and then your washing. And then there's a giant facility that does it. And depending on the technologies like ours, you can actually like wash yourself, or you can wash in our facility as well. So you can save cash by, say being a restaurant and washing your own cups and takeout containers and things like that yourself. And then if they go out and they go into our own system, we wash it and you can buy it from us. So there's lots of scale opportunity. So like Tim Hortons wants to launch across Canada. They can now, because we have partners that will wash and they can use our technology, our platform.
Really cool.
Same.
Wow.
Yeah. Same thing. It's just like having a garbage, like or waste removal in every city. Like you don't just have the same one in every one. You just except for locally there.
And I think that would have been that came to mind too as a barrier. It's cost, but it's like, that infrastructure and the accessibility. And when you get out of like, a lot of these types of businesses or projects, it's so hyper local that the impact is kind of crunched local, but that's huge. That's game changing. So that's a future to look forward to for sure. Yeah. Congratulations. It felt like it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Oh, it was easy. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
It was easy. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year. I feel like this has been such a natural progression, like just from our first conversation a few years ago to, and it's a really good reflection of how this kind of is, how sustainability really is a lot of the time. It's not perfect. There's no really clear path. There's not really one right path. It's all the little things that you can do to improve them and better and just work towards. So I feel like that's super synchronistic. Yeah. So I'm happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. People have to be gentle on themselves, like you don't have to be perfect. Like, there's just garbage everywhere and you just don't have the ability to do it. I got kids. I got lots of stuff on a plate that I got to deal with or whatnot. And so if I can't make this the most sustainable choice, sometimes I just can't do it. And most people in their day-to-day lives that aren't in this realm too, like they shouldn't feel shame for what they're doing. The world is set up like this. The throwaway lifestyle was invented in like the 1950s. There's a an article in Life magazine of like, it's like brand new throwaway lifestyle, and they have like people throwing garbage all over the place and like laughing, like a whole family, like.
Yeah.
And that's when it all kind of like started. It's like now you can just, the plastics industry got in there and they started pumping it out, and they're just like, we can just keep throwing everything away and make it as convenient as possible. So that has now been built into our society, and then everything in the world has been dedicated to streamline and make that more efficient so we have like 70 years of efficiencies in humans who are brilliant engineers and problem solvers, making everything less expensive and more efficient and stuff like that. So we're fighting 70 years of humanity's progress, if you will. So yes, be gentle on ourselves.
Food. That's exactly the same with food. And people thinking that they shouldn't have to pay more than a certain amount for food. But then when you look at the baseline of the quality of food that's out there from multinationals, it is not great for your body. It is not really good for you, and so it's that you've got to measure against it. It's like, of course it's going to be more expensive. If it's good, it's going to cost more, because they're using quality ingredients and because they're not putting a lot of preservatives and a lot of other things in it. So that's what that's what we're all up against.
I think I think people really respond to that too. Like I do, at least when you're like, oh, that's local. Oh, nice. Because you feel you have a better connection with local. It's like, if it's your neighbor that's doing something, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. And like kids selling lemonade or whatever. Yeah, you might get a lemonade. Like you get the connection. You see the kid, you're like, oh, that's cute. You feel like part of the food and like the environment. Like it's a talking piece. You're at the table and like, like, oh, did you know that was made right down the street kind of thing, and so there's a lot to say about local and like connection. I think like the meaning of life is all about human connection and how we come together. Otherwise we're just lonely, aimless people running around banging into things. But yeah, so like us coming together, especially around food, because that's that is what brings us together. You got to stop, you got to eat, and you can get the connection to your family, your friends, and your food, and then also get healthier by doing it. What are you, or I guess, what are you, Andrea, Meghan, what are you looking forward to the most? Like the outcome of this show, what would be your like?
I mean, I'm looking forward to the rest of 2024, because I think this is going to be the biggest show that we've ever had in May. Our From the Ground Up Trade Show and Conference this year will be really sizable. We're probably about 30% higher than last year. So it's really something great to look forward to. And then I think, for the rest of 2024, what we really have found in the last sort of 12 months is really looking at how we are so focused on multi-market channels rather than just looking at, one or two channels. We know that success lies in being in more than one channel. And so I think we're going to take that expertise that we've learned from doing all the events and the teaching and the coaching that we do, and we're really going to try and create some real value adds for local food processors to really better themselves from an educational standpoint and also a networking standpoint. So really being able to teach them what they need to know and connect them to who they need to be connected to increase their business exponentially. That's what we do.
I've seen that firsthand. So like, I've seen how impressive it is already. So to see you up that game, I don't know. That's going to be wild. So I'm excited to see it at the show. 30% bigger. That's amazing. 30% more samples to try out. That's great. I guess with this show, I'm looking forward to like really being present to see where the opportunities are to help vendors and help companies like go towards sustainability cost effectively, and hopefully having some notable events or things that happen at this show that will showcase to other trade shows this is possible. You can really jump in to sustainability, and it's not just like that's not going to work. It's just like, this is how easy it is, and have some I guess some content and things to share, case study or whatnot to share to show that sustainability is what people want and people want to do, and if we can make it as convenient and easy as possible, that they can do it. So all trade shows in the world in 1 year will be zero waste.
Yes, I agree.
Done. Well, anyways, it was great chatting with you both. Thank you so much for for hanging out, and it's always a pleasure. And I'm really looking forward to this year and the show. And please let me know if there's anything I can do to make things easier for you.
Thanks, Cody. We really, really appreciate your support, and we're really looking forward to collaborating with you in the show this year.
And in the future, there'll be many more events, I'm sure. Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.